in our lives, if we continue to deny God and curse Him until the end, and live like the atheist, think about Richard Dawkins in United Kingdom. He says, "Where is God? Live however you want." But if those kind of people, if they stand before God, what will happen? Will they still be able to make their claims? But the problem is that they not only ruin themselves, but also lead others to the destruction. And the same applies to our Christian life. Who are you close with? Who do you spend time with? Those who are close to God can maintain a good balance in human relationships in the world. Not too close, but not too distant. But those who are focusing on the people so much, they form certain groups and they gather those who are like them. But try getting closer to God. The more you grow closer to Him and communicate deeply with Him, you will notice that there is no one too distant or too close to you. Even those who hate or reject you cannot be pushed far away. Do you have someone in your life who is too close? Some people make it obvious whom they favor. You can tell because they always recommend that person or mention them in conversations. Looking down from the side, you can tell whether they like or dislike certain individuals. However, if you're close to God, you won't have people who are too close or too far. Being close to people, that will lead to destruction. Can the people around you save you always? Can the ones you get along with and understand you protect you forever? Absolutely not. Life is short in laughter and long in tears. If you live life the wrong way, a moment of pleasure can bring a lifetime of pain. That is life. How absurd would it be if, after experiencing short joy on this earth, we were to face eternal suffering before God? How absurd is that? We must take our fate seriously. No one can overcome God. Job chapter 11 verse 10 says, "If He passes by, imprisons, and gathers to judgment, then who can hinder Him? If God decides to act, who can stop Him? Is there anyone who can resist God?" Right now, God is giving us a chance. We are living in the time of grace, time of Gentiles. He is waiting for us. We must not waste this opportunity. Please do not waste it. Whenever I read such passages, I feel an immense fear of God. In the end, we will all stand before God, and we cannot escape from death. We stand before Him. And He will judge us according to our actions and according to our works. Even if we cannot receive reward, shouldn't we at least strive to reduce the reproach we might face? When we stand before God, shouldn't we be able to say we lived for Him and for His name and His glory? The moment we think I am the best, that is the moment we begin to fall. The moment we believe no one is better than me, that is the moment we die spiritually. Until we recognize our own shortcomings, we will never truly see them. We must see our own weaknesses. Those who do not recognize their own flaws cannot see God. Because they do not see God, they also fail to see their own faults. That is why people constantly complain, "I was treated unfairly, that person hates me, that person hurts me." Because they cannot see God. But if you truly see God, there is nothing to say. Some people worry, how will others perceive me when I speak? They are concerned about how their testimonies will be received. That is good. But those who do not see God have no filter for their words. They just speak whatever is on their minds. The problem is that once those words are spoken, they cannot be taken back. And if you cannot take back your words, you will have to face judgment for them before God. You may have felt relieved after saying something about some person, but how will you feel when you are judged for those words? Who is God to you? We must truly be grateful to God. One of my favorite verses is in Job chapter 4. Job chapter 4, verses 14 to 15. Let's read it together. If he should set his heart on it, if he should gather to himself his spirit and his breath, all flesh would perish together, and man would return to dust. This verse has been a great comfort to me, and I was so grateful. It is incredible to realize that such a mighty God remembers and thinks about me. If God had only thought of himself, where would we be? We would have perished long ago. Because our conscience knows, and we know what we did wrong. If God had only looked out for himself, we would have been doomed. The reason we are still alive today is because of God's mercy. This God is with me. This great and mighty God is looking at us right now. He's looking at us. One day, when we stand before God, we will understand something. I came across an old hymn on the internet that didn't have a melody, only lyrics. And the title was, God is Always Right. When we stand before him, we will realize God is truth, and he was and he is always right in every situation, and we will truly realize that. Even those who cursed and doubted God, when they stand before God, they will acknowledge that he was right, because God is the truth. He never makes mistakes. If there is a problem, it is with our own perspective. It's not a problem of God. Because of that, all our complaints and resentments will be silenced. And this mighty God came to this earth. Isn't that incredible? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Have you ever seen any other God die for humanity? Think about the religions of this world. Has any God ever died for the sake of people? Have you ever seen a God so merciful, so patient, and so willing to wait? The gods created by humans are often impatient, quick to anger, and demand sacrifices, right? If something doesn't please them, they just overturn the sea and the climate and everything, right? And if they offer a person or like sacrificial animal, they are pleased and they return calm, you know? Think about those myths and legends. That is the characteristic of the religions that people made in this world. Is there any God who has directly intervened in human history and revealed himself? Is there any God who came to this earth in human form and personally demonstrated that this is love? There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. The greatest love is to die in someone's place. But the problem is that we were enemies of God back then. The problem is that we were sinners before God. Is there any God who died in place of sinners? Is there any God who considers human pain and suffering as his own? Only our God. Only this God. Now, let's look at Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 11. Let's read it together. Has a nation changed its gods, which are not gods? But my people have changed their glory for what does not profit. This is what the people of Israel did. This is strange, right? With God's help, they conquered the Canaanites. But after conquering them, they abandoned God and worshipped the gods of the Canaanites. Does that make sense? They conquered Canaan by God's power. That should have proven that their God is greater. Yet, after the conquest, they abandoned God and worshipped the gods of the Canaanites. But isn't this similar to our own lives? No nation takes the commands of their God lightly. No nation watches passively as its gods are dishonored. Instead, they protect the authority of their gods at all costs. They are even willing to give their lives to uphold their gods in the religion of the world. Look at Muslims. Some even carry out suicide bombings in the name of their God's command. What about Buddhism? Buddhists, they voluntarily renounce the world to become enlightened. They willingly endure hardships to reach certain enlightenment. No nation despises the gods they serve. They never disrespect them. But when it comes to our true God, the one who created the entire universe, many people despise him. They treat him with contempt. Muslims, they never call Allah their friend. But in Christianity, Jesus said, I have called you friends. That is true, but that is what Jesus offered us. Does that mean we should think of Jesus as our mere friend, lightly? No other religion treats their God like this. Yet in Christianity, people claim to believe in God while even mocking at him. That makes no sense. Let us know the Lord. Let us pursue the knowledge. You despised my name, high priests. Drinking isn't just drinking, it's an act of despising God. Smoking isn't just smoking, it's an act of disregarding God. At the very least, shouldn't we serve God with more devotion than the pagan nations serve their gods? We believe in the one and true God, don't we? Even the unbelievers worship their false gods with such dedication. Then how should we serve our God? No nation takes the commands of their gods lightly. They do not act the way we do. William Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army, he was preaching to a drunkard. And the drunken man asked, Hey, do you believe in God? Do you really believe heaven exists? Do you really believe in hell? Booth answered, Yes, I do believe. Then the drunkard said, If I truly believe that, I wouldn't be preaching like you. And the statement shook William Booth to his core. Do you really believe? If you truly believed hell existed, would you evangelize the way you do? Do you really believe hell exists? Do you believe that your own family could end up there? If you truly believed that, you wouldn't live the way you do now. You wouldn't just go on family trips, laughing and enjoying life as usual. You would be desperately pleading for their salvation, crying out to God. William Booth was shaken by those words. That moment became the turning point for him, leading to the founding of the Salvation Army, a movement to save the world. We must know God correctly. Only the Lord is the true God, and He is our protector, and He is our comforter. The Bible even says that God guards us as the apple of His eye. That is how much He watches over us. But what about us? Do we even think about Him? We must have a renewed heart within us. Let's get rid of the things that are filthy in God's sight. You have not yet resisted sin to the point of shedding blood, it says. Shouldn't we fight? Truly fight against the sins. We cannot let the blood that Jesus shed on the cross be in vain. If we truly believe in the God who created the universe, then in our lives, we should cast away what is unclean before Him and find comfort in Him, find victory in Him, make Him our protector, make Him our rock. None of us lives for ourselves, and none of us dies for ourselves. If we live for the Lord. If we die for the Lord. So whether we live or die, we belong to the Lord. Not just words from the Bible, but engrave those words in your heart and let that words be your life. John chapter 3. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. He gave him. And if you have memorized John chapter 3 verse 16, you must also memorize 1 John chapter 3 verse 16 as well. 1 John chapter 3 verse 16. Let's read it together. By this we know love, because he laid down his life for us. And we also ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. It is right to lay down our lives for our brothers. And you can't accept the brother's shortcomings. And you can't accept the brother's weaknesses. Do you really need to judge and condemn because of that one mistake that he or she made? It is right to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. We must die. We must die. Unless the grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much grain. The time has come. The Lord is coming soon. So let's die. Let's die for him.